Previously on Bleach. I am Sternritter V. Gwenhale. Using my ability of the Vanish, you won't be able to hit me. Okay, that was a lucky shot, but seriously, I can completely remove myself from your mind so you don't even remember I was... Please stop trying to punch me. It's not going to work. I just want to do this really cool thing that I can Sampo Kenju. Sampo what? Hey everybody, Tekking101 here, here to review Bleach chapter number 572, entitled The Blaster. Shit, damn it, I just fixed that! That was an expensive camera, man! That was like $90! Okay, fixed it. Guess it was all just in my imagination. Anyway, so chapter starts off with Isane, basically, I feel so sorry for her. You know, she has had so much mindfuckery in the past couple of chapters that it's a miracle this woman is still standing, perceiving reality in her own special way, because she's witnessed this Sternritter guy literally fade out of existence, messing with her mind in the process, and then all of a sudden he shows up, like, after disappearing again, and then Yachiru summons these random two creatures behind her that slice this guy down in thrices. So, yeah, she's like staring dumbfounded at this sword at Yachiru's blade. So, but in the meantime, after Yachiru had cut down Gwenhale Lee, she does a little victory dance. You know, she's like jumping up and down, and the sword beasts, I guess I'm just gonna call them, not the sword beasts from the filler arc. That was really stupid. I'm talking about these sword beasts. They're like mimicking her every movement. So, you know, she turns to the right, they turn to the right, she turns to the right, they turn to the right, and, you know, she jumps up and down, they high-five each other. It's actually really cool. So, yeah, Isane is witnessing this, and she's thinking exactly what the nature of her sword is, because of course Unohana, her captain, her shikai Minazuki was a living creature. It actually transformed her blade from a sword into like a gaseous substance, and that gaseous substance formed this giant freaking manta ray with one eyeball, and they could fly around on. It was actually a pretty kick-ass shikai. But she's like, no, it's not like that, because Yachiru's sword is actually physically there, and it's also not like Toshiro's that could summon like a matter, like a living creature, like an ice dragon out of some other particle. It's nothing like that. These are like physical creatures that she just manifested from her shikai alone, and she's like, I don't know if any sword has the ability to do that. So she's just interesting with that power. I mean, you know, a lot of people have been wondering exactly whether this was her shikai or her bankai, and basically the contention goes like this. Even if this isn't her bankai, she still didn't use a phrase to call out the name of the sword, and then therefore she would have a shikai. I think there was a little bit of confusion on that. Number one, I believe it was never stated that just not calling out the phrase means that you've attained bankai. It was always been the name. So Renji, for instance, you know, before Renji gained bankai, he always had to say Zabimaru in order to activate shikai. I don't think he had to say How Zabimaru or Roar Zabimaru, whichever one it was, I forget. That was a dubbing mistake, that's why I'm confused. But I don't think he actually had to say the adjective in order to summon it. I think it's just the name. Same thing with Yachiru. And also, I thought Yachiru did say the phrase. I thought it was come on out. I mean, it could have been anything. I mean, just because Kubo didn't like highlight it in big and bold letters doesn't mean that that's not the phrase. It could have been like that. But yeah, so that's basically where I stand on this. I'm pretty sure this is her shikai. I mean, I think Kubo's not going to go so bankai happy that he just gave a bankai to Renji and Rukia. Now he's going to throw his, oh yeah, by the way, Yachiru has one too. So I'm just thinking it's her shikai. It's a very unique sword because she's a very unique individual, you know, just for the sake of how she is, you know, the way she acts and the way that she, you know, the amount of power she has and the position she holds. She's a very unusual girl. So that's what I'm just basing that off of. It's reflecting her unusual personality. All right, so next page we find out that Guy-Manuel is actually still alive. He stumbles out from behind a corner thinking like, holy God, the fuck happened? Jeez, what did I freaking smoke last night? Oh God, it was you. So, yeah, it turns out he's alive, and Yachiru's questioning this, like, I'm pretty sure I just cut you in half, like, 3 times. He's there, and he's just, like, clutching his freaking face. He's bleeding profusely. He's like, you freaking bitch, what the hell did you do to me? And he states the reason of how he was able to avoid the attack. See, aside from his other 3 phases, you know, phase 1 removes his form, phase 2, essence, phase 3 removes him from your mind. I guess there's also another ability let's just call it the cop-out ability, where he's able to just focus all of Ryatsu at one point, at one time, and he's basically able to just emergency eject himself from any situation. It's called Vanishing Slider. I could really go for some sliders right now. You know, White Castle, you know, those little slider burgers? Oh my god, they're delicious. Anyway, so he managed to avoid the attack by that, by, I guess, like, hurriedly just, I guess, at like a teleportation technique in short range, I guess. That would be the best way for me to describe this, because Yachiru's attack was, like, pretty much instantaneous. The only way to avoid it was either move faster than the speed of light or teleportation, so I'm just going to go with, like, short-range teleportation. So, we get the title page, Bleach 572, The Blaster, and then immediately, without any hesitation, without any moving forward of what Guy-Manuel was going to do, all of a sudden, like, a huge chunk of his shoulder and, like, half of his torso, like, where his lungs should be, this guy's definitely out at least one lung now, just gets removed from his body, just, like, sectioned off. I mean, that's pretty intense. I mean, you can believe that? You're just standing there minding your own business, just doing random shit, talking to somebody, when all of a sudden a huge chunk of you just gets removed from your... Ouch. For a split second there, and I know this is stupid, you can call me stupid, whatever. For a split second, I'm thinking, that was Isane's shikai. Because I'm thinking, like, what else could have it been, really? I mean, even if Rose and Kensei managed to wake up, none of their abilities could have done this. So I'm just like, it has to be Isane, and then the next page, it turns out it wasn't. It was actually another Sternritter that just spontaneously appeared on the bed sitting next to Kensei. It's just like, wow, is this no other Sternritter has anything to do? I mean, I know, you know, there's other captains, lieutenants going on. I know most of them are unconscious, but that's all they have to do is just bug these two women that are just healing in this random room. Maybe that was their bedroom. Maybe Guy-Manuel and this dude were like bunkmates, and, you know, they broke into their rooms like, hey, dude, bro, you want to go beat these girls up? And then maybe, you know, the reason this guy is mad at Guy-Manuel to the point where he, you know, sectioned off an entire part of his body was because, I don't know, he overused his Xbox Live account. Now he has to buy more points. I don't freaking know. Anyway, so Isane turns around and she's, you know, shocked by the fact of how did he get inside a barrier? And then it was revealed that it was actually, remember that like a couple chapters ago when we see Isane healing Kensei and Rose, there was like a barrier she erected around them. I thought that was just like a healing zone or something. I didn't think it was an actual physical barrier, but apparently it was, and this guy sneaked into it. Isane, listen, these Quincy's, they can basically manipulate reishi, your keto-based barrier. The fact that he got inside of that shouldn't be really shocking to you, but once again, I can give you some leeway. You're probably about to pass out from a heart attack right now, so it's all good. So anyway, Guy-Manuel, it's one of those like fast-paced attacks in anime where it's like a ninja move, you know, where the guy gets like his arm severed and he just turns around and he doesn't notice anything happened, and he looks down at his arm that's gone, and then all of a sudden it just starts bleeding like 10 seconds after the attack. Yeah, that happens to Guy-Manuel. He's just like, oh! This is gonna suck in about 4 seconds. And then like the flood, a gushing gateway of blood just starts flowing out. He passes out on the ground. He's just like, I was like, oh my god, why did you do that? This other kid who kind of reminds me of a combination between Yuki from the beginning of this arc and that creepy student police kid from Madoka Box. I forget his name. Anyway, looks like from a combination of those two. He's just sitting on his bed and he's just like, wow, that was just a product of my fantasy. Fantasy? You want to know a product of fantasy? Go type this into YouTube. I warn you, H.P. Lovecraft, you're gonna have nightmares for a while, but that's a fucking fantasy right there. So we have like a bit of a manga cliche here, you know, where one of the villains, you know, confronts the enemy and then he gets beaten down and he's about to lose, but then he's like right about to die, and then this other villain shows up and he's like, you've been a disappointment to our master. He's like, no boss, I can still fight. Like, no you can't, and then cuts you down. That's basically what we have here. This guy is, Guy-Manuel is like terrified of this kid at what he can do anyway, and he just keeps rambling on about how Guy-Manuel's ability is just so amazing that you can just vanish, you can disappear from your whole vision, you can even remove yourself from other people's minds. That's really incredible. But just now, I just erased you from my memory. You vanished. And once again, Guy-Manuel's like really terrifying. He's like, oh, please, no, don't do it, don't do it. And he takes out his knife and he charges at this kid. And the kid's just like, I'm sorry, but I've completely forgotten even who you are. And then we don't even know what the hell happens in the next scene, like what happens, what the kid does, because in the next panel, we just get boom! Eyeball, ribs. This guy is like incinerated. There's like nothing left of the dude. You know, he just crumbles into ash on the floor. And Isane turns around, I guess puts all our attention toward this guy instead, and he's just like, okay, great, you blew the Stern Creeper up. Can you get off the damn bed? And so this little kid just gets up and he's just like, oh, no, there's no way to get all worked about these two. I already killed them. And so we don't see any physical change in Kensei or Rose. They're just still lying on the bed. But, you know, he gets off the bed, he gets out of the barrier, Hisane rushes over. I guess she uses, like, I don't know, like, I guess it's like one of the, what's it called? The monitor, like the heart rate monitors in the hospitals, the one that go beep, beep, beep. I forget the medical term. I'm not a freaking doctor. And she does this, like, version with Kido where she summons, like, I guess a lifeline in front of her to show, like, what their life signs are, if they have a pulse or anything, and it's reading a negative. So she's like, oh my god, they're actually dead. Kensei and Rose are dead. I'm like, okay, this shit just got real. Yachiru just shows up from behind the kid. She swings her Sanjo Kempo sword like 3 times, same as what she did with Queen Manuel. And this kid just like dodges it without any effort. He just like bends down and dodges it. And he looks over. And he's like, you got to be joking, right? You know, you're telegraphing your attack like that. Of course I was able to dodge it. So yeah, so much for an ability that cannot be dodged. So does anyone else find it ironic that the guy that's whole basis is avoiding attacks and vanishing from thin air managed to get hit by this thing, and this other kid who, granted his powers are ambiguous at this point, where it was able to just dodge it just by, you know, like bending down like 2 feet? Yeah, so that's kind of a disappointment. Anyway, he grabs Yachiru's arm, which immediately makes her drop the sword, and she, like, kind of collapses. I don't want to say in pain, because she doesn't really have a sense of pain. It's more just like I'm, like, startled by this, you know? So she grips her arm, and she's like, what's going on? My arm feels like it's breaking, like, slowly. And the Stern kid walks up, and he's just like, what if, just what if your bones were made of cookies? I'm like, okay, I guess that confirms it. Sternritter C, the cookie. I just gotta make sure he doesn't know anything about the whereabouts of that cookie monster. I've been on the hunt for that blue bastard ever since the Great Desert Wars of '97. He's going down! I got lost on my way to Sesame Street. Anyway, so, yeah, the kid, he just random questions, like, what if your bones were made of cookies? And he like, kind of responds to his own question here, because Yachiru is just like, you know, I'm all for cookies. I'm all for, like, the child, you know, whimsical wonder and everything, but, arm is kind of slowly breaking, so I'm not really playing along here. So the kid just answers his own question, and he's just like, well, if they were made of cookies, of course, your bone would break. It would break into powder in, like, 5 seconds if your bones were just magically transformed into cookies. And subsequently from that, if your bones in your arm were made of cookies, then therefore all the other bones in your body would be made of cookies. Which, of course, would cause every bone in your body to break into powder. And sure enough, Yachiru's body is, like, slowly being mangled, and, you know, this guy, it's funny that he picked cookies, of all things. Like, I love cookies. Are we talking, like, chocolate chip, peanut butter? Ooh, white chocolate macadamia nut. I don't care if all my bones were white chocolate macadamia nut. I would, like, in my last few seconds of life, before, you know, like, my entire body shuts down. Well, actually, no, you could live without bones. Yeah, there was that Family Guy episode where Peter lived without bones. Yeah, so I would, you know, collapse into a mound of, like, just pink flesh on the floor and just slowly eat my bones until I died of infection. You know, that would actually be a pretty cool way to go out, in my opinion. Anyway, so the kid is, like, witnessing Yachiru just, like, collapsing slowly. I guess all of her bones are slowly breaking, and he's just like, the power of imagination is an interesting thing, right? If you imagine it, it becomes reality. So, okay, a couple of reasons that I can understand this guy's power. Let me just pause for a second to explain this. All right, so I basically came up with 3 scenarios on how this kid's powers work. Number 1, he could just manipulate reality at will. He just says imagination, like, so I guess he could just conjure anything into existence or make anything happen, change lead into gold if he so choose. Like Rusty Rose from freaking Fairy Tale Arkham Embodiment, he could just summon whatever, or an alchemy like Philosopher's Stone alchemy from Fullmetal Alchemist, he could just conjure whatever the fuck he wants or turn anything into whatever the fuck he wants. If that's the case, you're kind of screwed. I mean, Yachiru, Hisane, you guys are screwed, because there's no way you're going to be able to combat that. Number 2, it's all an illusion, or in some ways, it's like a dream state of some way. I actually found this really cool, drawing that somebody did on DeviantArt that actually perceived it like maybe when this kid showed up, he basically sent them all into like some kind of dreamscape or reality where the actual reality exists, where they're all just like still in the room. You know, Kensei or Rose are still sleeping, but they're alive. You know, everyone's just kind of collapsed. Maybe Gwen Hale is still alive, and they're in this dreamscape now. And because they're in this dreamscape, this kid can like manipulate it at will because that's his own power. Therefore, he made them both dead. So that's one way of looking at it. That seems more logically, in my opinion. I mean, I can't figure out like a letter for this kid based on that ability, but that's beside the point. I'm sure Kubo could come up with some letter, but that makes more sense, that manipulating everyone in like a dreamscape rather than actually like bending the laws of physics. That seems kind of like an OP of power. And the third statement I have here is, it's not really a power basis, but it's just a setup for what Queen Hell was. Maybe he was this kid's dream, or this kid's illusion, or this a product of this guy's imagination. Maybe this is the actual Sternritter V. Now that's just going off a limb here, but you know, this guy, I mean, he only showed up for like two chapters, and then he died. You know, that would just make more sense. And then we get another Sternritter all of a sudden. So I'm thinking maybe it's a little bit interesting. Maybe this kid made Gwenhel, and maybe he's the real Sternritter V, and maybe he can manipulate stuff at will. Maybe V doesn't even mean vanishing point, or something along the line. But that's more of a nitpick. That's not a nitpick. That's more of just a hypothesis for me. I'm not really sure if it's going to pan out or not, but that's just certainly something I came up with. But anyway, going back to it, Yachiru is basically about to get killed by the power of imagination, when all of a sudden the wall blows up and it's like, holy shit, what's going on? And all I can imagine what's going on in this Stern kid's head right now is something along these lines. Ha, okay, so now all your bones are cookies. I'm totally going to kill you to... Did you just pee yourself? I don't get it either. Okay, just checking. Kenny's here. Yeah, wall pretty much gets leveled behind him, and out pops freaking Kenpachi, you know, spouting his awesome phrases. He's just like, what the hell's going on in here? Yachiru's Ryatsu was getting a little low, so I wanted to check it out. And surprise, I find these little shits making the ruckus. And then you get like little captions like, Kenpachi makes a house call. I'm like, oh man. I knew it! I'm like, if you're ever gonna have Kenpachi pop back into the story, it would be the damn part in the story where his own lieutenant's getting beaten down, or his own lieutenant's in a fight. That's when he was going to show up. So yeah, I'm excited, man. Now, you know, I kind of already elaborated on this kid's powers. I'm not really sure what his name is yet. So, in this situation, you know, I don't know if it's like next chapter we're going to get the full brunt of Kenpachi's powers, but look at it this way. Kenpachi defeated Unohana a while ago, and probably close to about a day since that happened, because we already had all of night already. So, what do you think Kenpachi was doing in all that time where he's basically just sitting in the prison after Unohana is dead? He's probably like conversing with his sword, probably learning how to actually access his power. Now, would he be a master of this ability that he's probably been learning about for the past couple of hours? Most likely no, but he at least has maybe a little bit of a grip on it, at least maybe what it could do. We're not going into Bankai. We're not even opening that can of worms. We're not even opening the whole Kenpachi has Bankai shit, because I'm not doing it right now. I'm not entertaining that. But Shikai, true name of his Zanpakuto, and special ability may possibly be seen at like I would see like either the climax of the next chapter. That would probably be a good way to see that going on, because if Kubo cuts away from this and we see something else, then yeah, no, I don't think he would be doing that, because this is like, what, like 60 chapters or so since the, no, 50, since the whole Unohana Kenpachi fight. So yeah, I think next chapter we're just going to get the introduction there. He's going to show up, you know, maybe this kid's going to elaborate on his powers a little bit more, maybe state his name or who he is. Maybe his power won't, you know, I don't know exactly how his power works. You know, another idea I had was maybe his power only works if he comes in direct contact, because remember, he didn't really affect Yachiru until he touched her, and, you know, or he started talking to her. You know, that's how that works. So maybe either you just don't get touched by him, or maybe you just like plug your ears like Master Masculine did with Rose's power. Maybe if you plug your ears, you can't hear him, because basically whatever his power centers around is if he speaks something and you start imagining it, maybe that becomes a reality. Maybe that's a better way to look at it. Like for example, if I were to say, Lisa, there's a giant 2-ton hippo behind you. You know, obviously that's not the case, but if you were to believe it, oh my god, there's actually a 2-ton hippo behind you. Lisa, look out! Oh, no, I just lost a subscriber. Oh, man. Poor Lisa. Wait a second. I just conjured a hippo out of nothing. I had the power to achieve anything I want in this entire universe. Riches, world peace, a moon base in Antarctica. I wish for... I can't think of anything right now. Maybe later. Anyway, so yeah, that's basically how that works. Maybe, you know, you just plug your ears and just don't get touched by him. Maybe something like that. I don't really know. But yeah, a little bit of a mindfucky chapter, but all things considered, pretty good. Seeing Kenpachi again was definitely worth it. I liked it. I really did. I kind of hope that Queen Hell is kind of gone, because he was, you know, he was just weird. You know, I would take this little, you know, Yuki, you know, kid any day. I'm cool with that. Totally fine with him as a substitute. I mean, this kid's kind of creepy too, but not even close to the melted twisted clown Oompa Loompa motif the other guy got going on. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this review. Tekking101, signing out.